Hey guys, Kevin here. I'm back with, I don't know, think of this as like a bonus episode. It's the after party, but it's just me and you. So I just hung up from my interview with John Maxwell, and was getting a guest like Maxwell. I just wanted to, in real time, stream of consciousness, sort of share my reaction to the interview and the show. It's, first of all, I feel great. And these kinds of interviews are always hard because, for example, his team, reached out to me and we scheduled 30 minutes and they moved it. I'm not exaggerating, 5-6 times on me, right? So it's cramming things into my very busy calendar also, trying to get things done, lining it all up. He wouldn't go on video. His team doesn't use Zoom or any kind of video stuff. He had to use a landline. So like the quality and not having a face-to-face sort of changes these interviews. And look, let's face it, the guy's John Maxwell. And so I'm like hyped up about the interview. And I gotta be honest, I was not previously a huge John Maxwell fan. Huge John Maxwell respect. He's won every leadership honor out there. He's probably, he's arguably done more to spark leaders around the world than anyone else. 100 books he's written, 30 million books have been sold. I can't even I don't even remember how many languages. I think it's something like 50 languages. I'm pulling up his book right now to try to, more than 50 languages, 30 million books sold. So, who can't respect that and all that he's done? But I wasn't a huge fan because his style is just not my own. I think I started studying leadership and management at a time when data and, pseudoscience has taken over. So everybody wants all these books from behavioral psychologists, and everybody wants to know a study was done with this group and look what happened to this group. So we've been kind of moved into a data-driven model. And of course, John Maxwell, who's been around a long time, he's 71 years old, his model is he's in the ministry, he preaches. And so his model is, here's a theme. Now let me share from my own life. Let me share some stories that I've picked up along the way, and let me share from writings from other people. And so while it's nice, I think a lot of his books tend to be a bit more inspirational than practical and less grounded in, say, studies that, I don't know, Jim Collins sits there and analyzes business cases or whatever. But anyway, I got to say that I still was amped up for this interview, just knowing and who John Maxwell is and all that he's accomplished. And he came across, to me, I don't know if you heard it, but so genuine and so friendly that I feel like if you didn't know any better, you'd think he and I were friends or that we've worked together. We've never spoken before. And I think at some point he stopped calling me Kevin and started calling me Kev. maybe that was just my wishful hearing. But so much came out. I went back to the classic LEADx interview format where I asked him to share a failure. And, the story he told has to do with you still have to care for the people. You still have to get close to the people. And I love that point. It's something that I write about in my book that's coming out in April, where, I say, listen, you don't need to like everybody the same, but you do need to love everybody the same. You do need to care about them. And you need to find the time, and we're talking minutes here, to ask people about their weekend and discover their kids' names and what their kids are into. If people know you truly care about them and their future, you can do almost everything else wrong and get away with it. I think most recently it's Kim Scott, her book Radical Candor, her company of the same name, who's really talking about it's being candid with your feedback, but from a place of caring. If it's not coming from a place of caring, you're just going to sound like an a-hole, right? So, John goes back to this point of caring almost supersedes everything else. They then trust you, they respect you, they'll listen to you, and they'll forgive you when you mess up this tough stuff called being a leader. The other thing is, I have an ear for language. I'm always trying to become a better writer, a better speaker myself. And man, John just drops the alliterations like crazy. He talks about you have losses and learnings. And he said, he talked about hurt and help. I wasn't getting hurt, but I also wasn't getting help. When he later was talking about the times have changed, and he talked about the sands of leadership shifting. And then he said, the times are never going to settle down or slow down. I mean, he just has all this alliteration, which just sounds great. And, I can deliver that on my best day preparing a speech, but John has clearly spent so much time, on his craft that it's just how he communicates, and it's why he does connect with and motivate so many people. And then, the other thing that I was just kind of happy about is I was keeping a close eye on the times. I know they were going to just drop the phone right at the 30-minute mark. And, I wanted to hear about his morning routine, but I really also wanted to hear about his, advice for productivity. And he didn't come out and say it. But when he, I don't know if you heard it before I brought it out. He says, I get up in the morning, I look at my schedule. And I'm like, aha, he's not looking at his to-do list. He's looking at his schedule. And then he really, again, went right to his own teachings on that about, and I don't have the words that he said right in front of me, but he basically, talked about if you don't fill up your calendar with your priorities, it's going to get filled up with other people's priorities. And that is the point, schedule, don't list, reflect on your values, your goals, your priorities. That was another thing that I was very impressed, with this book, because he covered ground that you hear me talking about, which I didn't know he was covering until just now. And one of them is that goal setting. I mean, goal setting, made me literally millions of dollars, by the time I was 30. And yet it was horrible. It was like running from the bear, running from the tiger every day. It was a negative feeling. And I think there was some limits. There was a ceiling on how much one can accomplish with traditional goals. And so I've, evolved a bit and feel it's more about, putting impact in front of income. And it's okay to have some goals, but it's more about areas of intent. And it sounds like he's shifted a lot as well. And he's had some goals you'll read about in his book, where, he wanted the biggest church in Ohio, and he got it, or the fastest growing church out there or something, and some magazine named him that, and the biggest in Ohio, and he wanted to have 500 people in his church, and he's clearly surpassed that at this point. So goals were working, but then he realized there's also sort of a downside to them. So anyway, I'm just, again, stream of consciousness, sharing my enthusiasm and joy at meeting John Maxwell and bringing Maxwell and his new book to you. And, I've read some of his previous books, but it's going to make me go on Amazon and look at some of his more popular titles that I haven't yet read and stock up on them. I'm recording this actually right before Christmas, so I don't take a lot of time off, but maybe I'll take some time off between Christmas and New Year's and do a Maxwell binge. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that episode, and shoot me an email. I'd love to hear what you thought of the episode and his book, if you've read his book. I'm at Kevin at LEADx, LEADx.org, and I reply to everybody. Talk to you later. Bye.